Welcome, friends. We are introducing to you today the new artwork that has been placed in our vestibule. Many months ago, even before I came to St. Mary's, the vestibule had been redone, and there was really the choice of artwork that was going to need to be put into the vestibule. And Father Jack had begun working with our parishioners, Pam and Mike Tanner, on selecting artwork for the vestibule, but it was still in its very early phases at the time that I arrived here at St. Mary's last July. And so I sat down with Mike Malcolm and Pam and Mike Tanner of our parish and Father Vince, and we began talking about what we were looking for in terms of artwork for the vestibule, just to warm up the space a little bit, to make it welcoming and inviting, and also to include religious art that would help focus us upon the mysteries of God. And Father Jack had the original idea of having an image of Our Lady at the east entrance of the vestibule, but then also a set of paintings that would reflect the mysteries of the Rosary, and things that preferably would depict our Blessed Mother in each one of them. And so we thought, well, this is what we are looking for. So we need, working within those 20 mysteries of the Rosary, being able to pick 4 particular scenes, one from each set of the mysteries of the Rosary, that would help us to reflect upon those mysteries of faith. And so as Pam and Mike Tanner and I continued working on it, we thought, we don't want a bunch of random images that don't really go together. Can we find something that will, in fact, be a great representation of that concept of the mysteries of the Rosary as a church that is dedicated to the Mother of God, and to be able to find something then that would be just right for the vestibule. It has been a process that is many months in the making. We've given a lot of thought and care to the images that we were going to have reproduced to be able to display here in the vestibule, because I said, you know what? Art is expensive, and it's also something we're going to be looking at for a very long time to come. So we want to make sure we get this right. And so the Tanners and I feel that we have found artwork that is going to greatly enhance our vestibule, and we're very pleased to be able to introduce that to you today. The artwork that we've decided on for the vestibule is by the artist Giotto. It's really his great masterpiece that was the Scrovegni Chapel, which is in Padua, Italy. And it was completed around 1305. It was a private chapel built by Enrico Scrovegni, who was a prominent banker in the city of Padua, and he decided to create this private chapel that was attached to his house. And it was also meant to be a funerary monument where he and his wife are buried. Now, the important thing about the chapel, too, is that it abutted what had been an ancient Roman arena, so it is sometimes known as the Arena Chapel. One of the things that we were looking at in terms of the artwork was having something that would be a consistent design, preferably by the same artist, but certainly things that would be from the same period. And in the design for it that we were looking at the various mysteries of the Rosary. An image of the Madonna and Child that would be at the east end of the vestibule that would sort of be set apart, and then 4 paintings that would illustrate mysteries of the Rosary, covering both the joyous, the luminous, the sorrowful, and the glorious mysteries, preferably images that would have the Blessed Mother in each one of them, since we are the Church of St. Mary. And so we did a little bit of research and found this wonderful series of the life of Christ and the Blessed Virgin from the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua, Giotto's great masterpiece. What we have here is the round image, which is from the vault of the chapel, depicting the Madonna and Child. Oftentimes something that would be very difficult to see in the actual space, because it is, of course, way up on the ceiling. Here, we are able to see it immediately as we come through the east entrance into the vestibule. Beautiful image of the Madonna and Child that is another part of Giotto's great masterpiece here in the Scrovegni Chapel. So the first of our 4 paintings that we have hanging here in the vestibule depicts one of the joyful mysteries of the Rosary, the Nativity. And so it depicts the Blessed Virgin reclining, the newborn Christ child that you can see being placed into the manger, St. Joseph down at the bottom of the scene, as well as shepherds, angels, everything that we associate with the Nativity. One of the interesting things to notice about the particular painting as well is you will notice that in this reproduction of this fresco, is that the blue is oftentimes very, very faded away and chipped away. It looks like it's chipped away in places. And the reason for that is that the ultramarine blue that was used in the frescoes was a very, very valuable color to use. But to maintain its brilliancy in the fresco technique, it was applied after the fresco had already dried and it was painted on top of the plaster that was used in the fresco, which meant that while it maintained the brilliancy of the color at the time the fresco was painted, it also decayed more quickly than the other colors that are used in the fresco technique. One of the other interesting features about the 4 paintings that we now have mounted in the vestibule is that we have we decided to display them, having them reproduced on canvas with a rolled edge, keeping it very simple without a very heavy frame around it. And our parishioners, Don and Pat Lotus, had made the wooden brackets that hold them mounted to the wall, which we thought was a very elegant way to be able to display these works of art. The second image that we have depicts the luminous mystery of the wedding feast at Cana. So again, depicting the Blessed Mother within the image. You can see the water jars that are converted into wine. Jesus, who is present there in the fresco as well. The Blessed Mother instructing the waiters to do whatever he tells you. And so it's another beautiful image that is related to, that depicts the life of the Blessed Mother, this particular mystery of the Rosary, which is one of the luminous mysteries. So as we move toward the west end of the vestibule, we have our third painting, which is an image of the Crucifixion, one of the sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary. So it depicts what is a very traditional crucifixion scene. You can see that Jesus has been stripped of his garments, his tunic being off to the right side here, the soldiers beginning to fight over who is going to be able to take his clothing. We see Mary Magdalene at the feet of Jesus at the foot of the cross, and then the disciples, including the Blessed Mother, over on the left side of the image, as well as many of the angels that surround Jesus as he is crucified in this image. We also see at the very base, the skull, oftentimes, again, a traditional part of images of the crucifixion. The next image that we have takes us to the glorious mysteries, which reflect on Jesus' resurrection and ascension into heaven. And so once again, the Blessed Mother is depicted along with the apostles in the bottom part of the fresco. And they are watching Jesus as he is taken up into heaven. The 2 angels present announcing to them that he is risen into heaven, and they will be then told to return to Jerusalem to await the coming of the Holy Spirit. We also see sort of the choirs of angels as well, that as Jesus is ascending into heaven. So this final painting depicts the glorious mystery of the Rosary. And once again, we were very fortunate that we had one that depicted our Blessed Mother as part of that scene. Oftentimes it is only the apostles who are depicted in scenes of the Ascension, but Giotto fortunately had also portrayed the Blessed Mother in this image, so it made it a very useful one for us to be able to utilize as we were able to choose these images for our new vestibule.